Windows 10 has introduced a new feature called multiple desktops. So instead of having only one desktop as you're looking at right now, we can have many desktops, 2, 3, 5, 10 different desktops, each of which will contain their own windows. Let me demonstrate how multiple desktops is going to change the way you work with Windows 10. Let's illustrate it by going about our business as we normally would. I'll launch Microsoft Excel and maybe restore the window to a normal size so that we can see all the windows we have open. I'll launch Microsoft Word. Scooch it on over like this. Let me launch one more window. How about Windows Explorer? And if you stay tuned for our next few videos, we're going to learn more about the File Explorer. Now I have 3 windows open. Let's open up a 4th. I'll go to my Start menu, which I've nicely organized from our previous videos, and I'll open up also Microsoft PowerPoint. Now, if you ask me, this is becoming pretty busy. I've got 4 windows open. Of course, I can minimize them and kind of clean up my desktop, but I also have the ability now to create more desktops. Let's focus in on this new button down on the taskbar. I'll hover my mouse over it and you'll see it's called the Task View. When I click on the Task View, it'll be the exact same thing as what we learned in our last video, our task switcher. Holding down the Windows key and hitting Tab will take us to this screen. Let me show that to you again. I'll hold down the Windows key and hit Tab, and it does exactly the same as clicking this button right there with your mouse. So the Task View brings up a window for me to be able to switch between my tasks, but that's not what we're here to see. We've already seen this. Let's look down here on the lower right corner. There it is, a new desktop. Let's give it a try. I'll tap my Windows Tab key. I'll click on New Desktop, and it creates a second desktop for me. Let's do one more new desktop. 3 desktops. So if I go to my desktop number 2, you'll see it's blank. How do I switch back to my other desktop? Well, by clicking here on the task view, I can switch back to desktop number 1. By clicking on the task view button, I can switch over to desktop number 2. And while I'm on desktop number 2, I could launch yet another program. Let's say I'd like to launch my calendar. Once I launch the calendar, it is now launched on desktop number 2. A nice clean desktop just for my calendar. We could launch Outlook or Word or Excel on a separate desktop, making it clean and clutter-free. To switch back to the other desktop, I can simply click on the task view and switch back to the desktop number 1. If you stay tuned for our future videos, I'm going to introduce you to a keystroke that allows you to move between these desktops so that we don't have to click on the task view button or to hold down the Windows key and hit Tab. No, there's a hotkey that'll move us between our desktops. We'll get to that in our future videos. But for now, to create a new desktop, I simply click on the task view and click on the New Desktop button. You might be wondering, well, Tom, what if I have an icon or a program running on one desktop and I'd like to move it to another? I'd like to demonstrate that for you right now. I'm going to move the PowerPoint program to desktop number 3. So by switching over to desktop 1 and then clicking on the task view, I can then grab PowerPoint and drag it over. Yes, you guessed it. I'm holding down my left mouse button and I can drop it right there onto desktop number 3. Let's do the same thing with Word to desktop number 4. I'll grab Word and drag it over to desktop number 4. Now, if you're like me, a clutter-free environment is a relaxed environment. Desktop number 1 has Excel open. Desktop number 2, I've got my calendar open. I could have Outlook here. Desktop number 3, I have my PowerPoint program running. And desktop number 4, I have Microsoft Word running. Clutter-free desktops, making it easy for me to work on separate projects and separate programs simultaneously without any confusion, without any mess. Alt, Tab, as we learned in our previous exercise, moves us between our open applications. Windows Tab brings up the task view, which is the same as clicking on the task view button on the lower portion of our screen. Creating new desktops is as easy as clicking on the new desktop button while we're in the task view window. And then finally, moving programs from one desktop to another is as easy as grabbing the program while in task view and dragging it to another desktop. Well, you know what I'm going to ask you to do now. Pause the video. Go try it yourself. 3 things. Use the task switcher, Windows Tab. Use the new task view button down at the bottom of your screen. Create a desktop and move applications between desktops. And remember, I'm going to show you some keyboard shortcuts that are going to make this far easier for you if you just stay tuned for the next few videos.